Hi guys, what's going on? Zura over here. In this video, I want to continue reviewing my games from the 2023 US Chess Masters tournament that I played 2 weeks ago. Now, if you remember the first part of the video, I am 2.5 at this point out of 3 games. Had played 2 games with black colors out of 3. So going into the fourth round, I'm expecting that I'm playing the higher rated player, but with white colors. Okay, we'll see what happened here in a second. But I wanted to mention that this will be the last video from this tournament because I do want to go over most of my games, but I decided to mainly focus on the takeaways, key learning moments for me, and what I think would be instructive for you, the audience, as well. All right, let's jump into it. Now, the fourth game, again, I expected to play with the white color. However, pairings come out 45 minutes before the round, and I see that I'm playing John Burke, a very strong grandmaster from US. I think he is from New York. He's been 2600 before. Now he's dropped a little under 2600, but a very formidable E4 player. Actually, before the tournament, I said that this guy was probably the only one, and Ewander Liang. There were 2 of them that players that I did not want to play because these guys are sharp E4 players. But well, that's how it works. So let's jump into the game. He starts with Rui Lopez, so we get into Spanish after bishop b5. I kick the bishop with a6, bishop a4, knight f6, short castle, pretty standard so far. And here I normally continue with bishop e7. However, for this game, I decided to go for Steinitz system with early d6 and followed by bishop d7. Now, if white goes for an immediate d4 here, there might be this type of little trickery here with b5, and there's still d takes e5, which would keep the equality. But if you do go bishop b3 here, there is this trick: knight takes d4, takes, and you're not able to capture back with the queen because then there will be c5, c4, trapping this bishop on b3. All right, so he continues with c3, which is probably the main line, and I now decide to fianchetto my bishop on the long diagonal. Bishop e7 would also be a standard way of developing here. However, I do like the idea of fianchettoing this bishop because the e5 pawn is not hanging at the moment. If white tries to go for that e5 pawn immediately, I can just capture back with bishop c6, and if you take my pawn on e5 now, I can just take knight takes e4. And now there is a little bit of an X-ray on the E file, but white is not able to take advantage of that, and black will be able to run away into castling here. Let's say, for example, after E d6, I can just go short castle. This is the computer's suggestion: sacrifice that pawn and seek for the compensation on a bishop pair advantage and also open files. I definitely think here 2 bishops and open both D and E file compensates the lack of a pawn. So John doesn't take on E5, he goes H3 pretty quickly. I go short castle, and now bishop back to C2. So normally I think either bishop E3 or knight BD2 would be the main moves in this position. Bishop c2 is apparently the second most common move, immediately retreating this bishop. And here actually this is quite a sloppy preparation for me, but I was not sure what are the book moves here. Apparently the book moves, what most strong players do here is playing something like rook e8, the knight bd2, and try to play it in the typical Spanish Rui Lopez trails try to expand on the queen side with b5, then knight a5, then c5, and with the typical play. This would be some of the things basically that could have transpired had I played rook e8. However, while bishop still being on a4, I'm used to playing this move queen e8. So over the time, I've gotten comfortable with this move, and I decided after quite some thought here to play queen e8 anyways. Now, why queen e8 if bishop is not on a4, you may ask, right? And if bishop is on a4, actually, the point is that, let's say, if they play something like bishop here, right, and I go queen e8, and let's say they go knight d2, this is a little bit of a blunder here. I can take knight takes d4, and hitting the bishop on a4. If you take my bishop, I have this intermediate check, and after you take back, I'll take on b7, win a pawn with the big advantage for black, right? I've actually won a game exactly like this once with knight takes d4. And the point being also that if you take back cd, now I can just take the bishop and retreat the bishop back and enjoy my pawn advantage. So he goes bishop c2. I still go queen e8 here now. If bishop is not on a4, the idea of queen e8 is to strengthen the e5 pawn and prepare this move knight h5. Okay, and after knight h5, black wants to play f5, right? That would be the only idea of why I would move the well, knight h5 actually also wants to go knight f4, but the long-term black's plan is to play f5 and expand on the king side. And a lot of times when knight is on h5, if my queen is not on e8 and then I go f5, let's say if I do immediately knight h5, right, and they go something like bishop e3. Now if I go f5, they will take here, for example, takes, then can take here, and if I take back with the pawn, this knight can jump around. Let's say take here, and now my knight on h5 is hanging, so I lost the pawn. So to have protection to that knight, I go queen e8, he goes knight bd2, I jump now knight h5, and he plays knight to c4. Knight to c4 now doesn't allow me to go f5 immediately because this guy is hanging. I believe now what can possibly happen is takes, and maybe takes on e5, and this guy is hanging, or takes on f5 first, and then have a lot of pressure over e5, considering also my bishop on d7 will be at the end under attack. Does not make things better for me. So knight c4, I move king to h8, white goes here, bishop to e3, basically wanting to take on e5 and then go bishop c5 and make my rook uncomfortable. Now, this, I think, was one of the critical moments of the game. I spent quite some time thinking on this position, what to do, how to continue. Apparently immediate f5 was possible, but during the game that I thought that it was not possible due to this move. E takes f5, and then if I do take back with the g pawn, he takes on e5, and this will be pretty difficult for me because he can just take on e5. And let's say take everything. Now if I take with the queen, my bishop's hanging on d7, or knight's also hanging on h5. If I take with the bishop, there is bishop d4, a deadly pin over the e5. So I rejected actually f5 pretty quick, and later on when after the game basically, I analyzed the game. It shows that there had been a game played between two very strong grandmasters, Anton Guijaro David and Niels Krondelius, both players close to 2700. I think now they are 2680 territory. So Niels here apparently played f5, and after e takes f5, he captured back with the bishop, which definitely makes a lot of sense, right? To capture back with the bishop, so there is no attack, and if white takes here, d takes e5. Well, let's say if bishop f5, then g takes f5, and there is this key move that after d takes e5, rather than capturing back immediately, black has queen f7, hitting the knight on c4, and if knight moves away, then taking on e5 with the pawn, and everything is good. Now if you go e6, then probably takes back. This guy is still under attack, so you have to defend it first, and if you go there, I'll just go back queen f7, and now we have interesting dynamics here where I don't think black is worse at all. Computer says it's 0-0s, so right around equal, I would say, unclear territory. So that would be a move. Let me see here. I messed up the notation for a second. So f5 would be very interesting, but okay, I did not see this move. Queen f7, which is the key move here to hit basically the knight on c4. Apparently, that game versus David Anton and Niels Grondelius continued with DE, and then after bishop c2, queen c2, Niels goes for this very fun sacrifice, rook takes f3. If you do take back with the pawn, then d5 hitting this knight, knight e5. I also thought maybe there is queen f7 here, but apparently not, because there is queen e4, and if I go d5 there will be e6. All right, and then this d5 pawn is hanging. So after after rook takes f3, here David Anton takes on d6, rook f7, taking on c7, knight goes to b6, and now white will win an exchange, but they already sacrificed a piece, so it turns out that this will end up being two minor pieces for a rook and two pawns. All right, this is how the game continued, and after some fight, game ended in a draw. Computer says that white is slightly to be preferred. All right, let's return back here now to the critical position that I was mentioning. So f5 was a very interesting continuation here. There was another interesting move in a position which I was seriously considering, and then again after the game I saw that it's been employed by one of my teammates from the university team, Denis Kadric, strong grandmaster, against Santosh Latasa Jaime. Both grandmasters are very strong players. Latasa Santosh, he is 2650, actually about 2650, close to 2670, I think, and Denis is 2600 player. So b6, he decided to play b6 here with the idea of securing the c5 square, which makes a lot of sense. I seriously considered this move to get prepare for this move f5, and apparently that's what happened in the game. After a4, f5 happened, and now the point being that if you take on f5, there might be e4. E4 move, and if you take there, e takes f3, and there's a lot of interesting things happening here, but position is a complete mess basically. So that game continued with DE, and now Denis goes with f4, and now this bishop will have a difficult time finding a good square. If you go back, then just takes on e5, first with knight and then with the pawn, or immediately with the pawn, for example. Santosh Latasa decides to sacrifice the bishop, which is the first line of the computer, and then take on d6, take on b6, and play 4 pawns for a piece. However, I think black manages to blockade these pawns for now, at least, and has a very reasonable chances. Computer only says 0.3 here, but I think from the human perspective, this is definitely playable for black. It's still a lot of play left, very unclear, and later on white ended up winning the game. However, black definitely had their chances, fair chances, I would say, because he was winning at one point as black, I mean. So either b6 or immediate f5 basically in these positions, I think would make a lot of sense. Considering that I hadn't thought of f5 too deep, I think b6 would probably be the best decision. Now, I got excited with this move b5, which turns out that will weaken my queen side. I had actually a similar game against Sergei Tivyakov, who He's also a very strong grandmaster, and I lost the game similar way here. I played b5, and that ended up weakening my queenside a lot, and then queenside now becomes the target of white attack. Now I'm gonna say that I was very disappointed with this. With my emotions in this situation, because I got very excited with this kingside sacrifice, and that's kind of kingside counterplay, and that's kind of why I didn't mind weakening my queenside with b5. But then d takes e5 here, and this bishop is never in trouble because I have to capture back with the d pawn, and now this bishop is gonna have c5 square at all times, and I can't really take it away. And now we see the weakness of b5, right? And if I go queen e7, then b4, and that c5 square is still an outpost for white. So after this d, I would say that white now has a clear target, my queen side, and what do I do? It's not so obvious. So I play rook d8, now ab, b4, fixing that pawn on b5 and securing the c5 square. Now it's important to start mentioning already that I'm spending a lot of time here. I'm not sure what to do. And I'm looking for counterplay, while my opponent's most moves are quite simple. So I decide to go h6. He plays bishop d3 to attack my b5 pawn, and now I take on e4. So there was nothing else to do. If I go f4, then bishop goes to c5, and where is my attack? Right? It's non-existent at the moment. Okay, 7. So I need to open up the position a little bit. I was thinking among the lines maybe knight e7 here, but I think that makes my position quite passive. He can go something like queen c2 or rook a5, rook a7. So I wanted to break free. I was already, I think, under 20-minute mark, so I decide to take on e4, knight takes e4, and then go bishop f5 active. He goes queen e2, and now I decide to play g5. The point is that at the moment you can take, this bishop is hanging on e4, and now I want to play knight f4, attack your queen and the bishop. When you take with the bishop, I'll take with the e5 pawn and open up my bishop, which will be nicely targeting this pawn on c3. Here my opponent goes rook to a6, and I think this is the most critical moment where I got my chance. I think rook a6 is a little bit of an inaccuracy. White could probably have converted this or played it more. White could have played in a more demanding way. Let's put it that way here. Now, why is rook a6 an inaccuracy? Well, this is something that I was looking a lot during the game, and then when I saw that it was actually possible and didn't find it, I was very disappointed. Queen goes to g6, attacking the knight on e4. It's kind of feels weird to put the queen in the x-ray, but there is a reason for it. Knight is hanging, you have to defend it, and then black has this rook captures to d3, queen d3, knight takes b4, and this queen is hitting the rook. If you take on g6, knight takes the 3, attacking the rook on e1, and also the other rook on g6 is under attack. So I'll win one of them. Well, actually, computer says apparently take on g7 and just move away. But black is pawn up here, so I don't think I would be unhappy with this turn of events for sure. Now I'm slightly better rather than being in trouble. So after rook a6, being probably around 10 minutes on the clock, I didn't spend enough time here looking at queen g6. Now I am gonna say actually one more thing. Let's take a look at this position before I play g5. I thought that, well, after the game, I thought that practically it would be, black would have very good chances for a draw here if I had played knight going to f4. And I kind of saw this during the game, actually. Point is that takes. I think that this line is pretty forced. Bishop takes b5, then I take on e4, and then eventually I take on b4. If I take on c3, there will be rook c1, and I'll lose the material, but I can take knight b4. And if rook before bishop takes c3, then probably rooks are gonna defend each other, and we are left with this endgame where I have rook and a pawn for two minor pieces, which definitely should be better for white. However, I think black will have a very reasonable chances of holding this g5 king here, rook d6, rook f6, or somehow protecting that pawn, and then solidifying the position. So I didn't do that. I think that would give me practically very reasonable chances of holding something like this, one of the probable lines. So instead, I played g5, he goes rook a6, then I played knight b8. I made this move kind of fast here, because I think under 10 minutes, maybe even like close to 5 minutes here, it was a little bit of a panic actually, was not sure what to do. My opponent had over 30 minutes, so I didn't want to go under like seconds. So I decided to make a move. He goes rook a7, then I bring queen back to c6. Now white is definitely still better here, because again the same things. I have more weaknesses, and he has more targets. Knight goes to d2. I do go now knight f4, but b5 pawn drops. I move the queen away. Rook goes to a5. Technically, I was not too unhappy with this position, because I have bishop here and I'm only a pawn down. So very much holdable still, but now my knight is uncomfortable, and most important factor is the time. I am actually quite low on time. Probably I'm 2 minutes. My opponent is like again 30 minutes here, 25 minutes. So very uncomfortable. Goes bishop back to d3. Point is that I take on a5. He has knight c4. Now I don't want to give him this passer with b takes a5, so I go rook a2, and after queen a2 I move my queen, and he played queen a5, and this was the final move of the game. Now thinking what to do about this c7 pawn, and under a minute I choked basically. I was gonna make this move queen c6, but got carried with calculating knight e5, and then apparently I have to go queen e8, because if you go here there will be knight c5, and I did see this, so I was not sure what to do basically. So after queen a5, in fact, I flagged. I lost the game. So definitely got outplayed, I would say, out of the opening, and by the strong opposition in general. But I think this is also the good learning moment. Time is a very important equation of the game. Time is part of the game. If you go low on time, doesn't matter how good or promising your position is, and the opponent has a lot of time, then one mistake can change all that, and you're playing without time, which without thinking, playing precisely is very, very difficult to almost impossible, I would say. So time mismanagement, and even if you're playing strong players, better playing practical chess rather than spend all your time trying to find the objective truth, and not being able to find the objective truth, and now you don't have time on the clock. All right, that was game 4. All right, so very sad I was after the game that I had lost, but okay, it happens. Got outplayed by a strong player, not a lot to complain. Now let's see what happened in the round 5, where I played with white colors against 20-70. I believe he's already FIDE master in this tournament. I think this kid got an international master norm. All right, so this is round 5 after my loss against John Burke, Grandmaster John Burke. So I'm playing with white colors against an opponent, young opponent, rated around 20-70. I will not spoil what happened, but this was undoubtedly the most important game of the tournament that affected a lot of things going forward. So let's see. I start with knight f3. My opponent goes d5. I play g3, go for ready. I play these systems quite a bit, and my opponent goes knight d7. Now, knight d7 is a little bit of an unusual line. However, it became popular after Kirill Alexeyenko defeated Sergei Garyagin in 2019 at the FIDE Grand Swiss, and managed to qualify for the candidates with that result, actually. Well, not only a win, he ended up, I think, getting the third place in that tournament, and first place was already qualified. I forgot who it was it Fabi or Magnus, I think? So that's how Kirill Alexeyenko qualified to that legendary candidates that lasted 2 years due to COVID. Right. So, what is the idea of knight d7? Knight d7 wants to push e5 and get the very firm control of the center. Now, if white doesn't want to allow black to get this kind of activity, has to play d4, and then this knight parks itself on b6 with the idea of not allowing white to play c4. As straightforward as that. All right. It does seem a little awkward there, and also it seems awkward to make knight move twice in 3 moves in a starting position. But I've seen actually this structure played, and I think black actually gets quite reasonable position, solid, I would say. I myself have used this system as black against Lazaro Bruzon, a very strong grandmaster, my childhood idol, kind of one of the idols, I would say, because when I lived in Spain, this guy Lazaro Bruzon was 2,700 at the moment, and he was crushing. He was winning a tournament after tournament. So I remember being very impressed. So I actually used this system as black to draw him in Vegas tournament, and I had some knowledge basically about the system, so it didn't come as quite a surprise to me. Bishop g2, bishop f5, I go short castle, knight f6, and I do a similar thing that Lazaro played against me, knight to c3. So if you have knight on b6, that means that now my b3 c4 will be not so efficient, so I don't even mind basically about that. I go just knight c3, and then on e6 I play knight h4 with the idea of immediately targeting this bishop on f5. If you go bishop g6, then I'll take and play e4. That's what happened in my game against Bruzon. Now, I do want to mention here, I think black can play h6, which makes a lot of sense to have this h7 square for the bishop. If my opponent played h6 here, I think I was gonna go knight d2 with the idea of playing e4 on the next move anyways. But well, black maintains the bishop, so they can just go something like e6. Now if I go there, takes, then c6, and basically black is playing Caro-Kann with the bishop already out of the pawn chain, so quite normal for black, I believe. So he plays e6 immediately, allows me to play knight h4, and now this light squared bishop is probably to be captured. You can try to go bishop g4, but I'll probably do something like this. And I was thinking between queen d3 and this move f4. I was not sure if this f4 move works, because if he goes there, bishop e3, and it's an interesting position. He can go knight c4 here, but I go back to f2. I don't think you can take there due to this move. Yeah, queen b6. And then I also have this move e4. I'm also threatening to play g4, and then move back when you move bishop back f5. So a lot of play. I was not sure what I was gonna do, but against 200 rating points lower than me, I was quite happy to get this position. And my opponent, for some reason, plays relatively quick, I think, within a few minutes of thought here, goes bishop b4 and gives me the bishop pair and a very important light square bishop. Now I take on f5. Your computer actually is suggesting a very fun line, and I saw it after I made the move. Knight takes d5, man. Knight takes d5, knight takes d5, and there's this idea of c4 attacking the knight. Now, if we move back, I have queen a4 check, and the bishop is hanging. If you move back to b6, I can take and then go c5. Now I'm attacking your knight again, and the point is that your bishop is trapped. So if you go back, a3, and this bishop is pretty much doomed. If you go back, then b4. I maintain a bishop here. I think I'm also winning a pawn. Well, okay, he will take back, so I won't be winning a pawn, but pawn structure of excuse me, white's pawn structure and black's pawn structure is not even close, right? White's much better. Excuse me, I had to drink water. So I didn't see knight d5, c4, c5 idea. I took immediately on f5 because I was already happy with the outcome here. I played queen d3 to attack the f5 pawn and threaten queen b5 check. He plays queen d7 to defend both, and now I decide to play f3, preparing to play e4. Also, like bishop h3 maybe, then e4, depending on what happens here. He goes short castle, and now I play bishop g5, making this knight uncomfortable. All right, now if he goes queen e6, then I was gonna try to here. I'm not sure actually what I was gonna do exactly here. Whether I was gonna go bishop here, or I was also thinking of knight b5, hitting this guy. You can play rook here because the a7 is hanging. If you play with this rook, then I go bishop g3, h3, excuse me, g6 probably, not sure, queen b3 maybe, and when you move the bishop back, now I can try to go e4. So some things along this line. Now you can't touch this pawn because you're kind of pinned there. I'll take the queen, take the knight afterwards, and this bishop also exerting tremendous pressure along the diagonal. So bishop g5, he played knight e8, which I thought was a little weird, but I was fine with this move because now e4 comes quite strong. I thought that after e4 he was gonna take here and then try to take here and basically h6 and then take everything, but I was very happy to play with the bishop pair here. If you take there, I'll take back and c6, probably rook e1. I have a bishop pair and open fives. So a computer that says that this is balanced, but I probably like white here. So he plays h6 to kick my bishop immediately, and then does not take on c3. Instead, decides to play c5, which I think is a little bit of an inaccuracy because now a3 takes, and now I'm getting protection on my d4 pawn, and again I got the bishop pair. So I already see here that position starts to get really good for white. e5, knight goes to b5. Now bishop retreats back to d2. Momentarily it looks like black has some pressure here, but I just defend my queen side and will now have all the time in the world to prepare for the king side expansion. Okay, so rook d8. Now I go rook b1 because if knight retreats back, then you're gonna lose the b7 pawn. I'm also threatening to play rook b4, attack this guy on a4, kick it back, then a4, a5, and then I'm dominating on both sides of the board basically. So he goes a6. I didn't now play rook b4 because my main advantage is on the king side, so I'm thinking to expand on the queen side and open g file and checkmate the king. As simple as that, right? Queen f4. Now he moves the knight back to defend this guy on f5. Now bishop h3, knight e7. Now I move the king away and I get ready for g4. I open the g file, bring the rook there. He goes f5 because out of desperation, because my plan is very simple: double up on g file, move the bishop away, and capture on g7 or go queen f6 basically. So he goes f5. Now bishop h5. This makes things even easier for me, and this is the critical position. So king h7. White is completely winning. And I feel this, my opponent feels this. I have probably about 20 minutes left on the clock, maybe a little less actually, 15 minutes left on the clock. But my opponent feels that he's lost. He's been sad, kind of leading to this moment, feeling when the kid is getting outplayed, and he was being sad basically. I was pretty comfortable with my position. I realized here that if I double up on g file, that simply should be winning. Because he probably plays. So I'm threatening rook g1. Then if you play rook there, bishop f7. So you have to defend the f7 square. But the problem is this move rook g6, which I actually saw during the game. I go rook g6, and you have to take back because otherwise I sacrifice on h6 and you're getting mated. So you have to give me your queen, and then I'll have this move h5 check. You go back because if you go there, you're gonna get mated. King there, queen takes f5, king goes back to h8, and I have a queen in the pawn for 2 rooks. But most importantly, black is never able here to get active. Okay, so what I can do is either go e6 and then try to go bishop f4, bishop e5, queen there, or go queen g6, or go queen e6, attack, oops, this guy and that guy. I can go queen d7, attack all the pawns here. So a lot of things are loose here. I have a monster pawns here with e and f, both of them being kind of like passer. So I realized this has to be a game over, basically. Now I also realized that e6 should be extremely strong, because if you take there, I go rook e1, and if you go queen f6, I can go queen g3. Now I am threatening to play rook e6. I'm threatening to go bishop f4, bishop e5. So positions should be completely crushing here. This has to be game over in few moves. So I'm choosing basically between these two moves, and then it came to me, oh man, why not rook g7? Rook g7 I think is immediately game over, right? I take on g7, takes king g7, I go rook g1, black goes king h7, and now I can go bishop g6 check. It takes, right? If you take with the knight, I take h6 and take g6 and game over, basically. So you have to play queen g6, and then I take on g6, take with the king, I take there, king there, e6 check, king, or bishop g5 immediately I think is even stronger. Then I have queen h7 threat, queen f6 threat. If you go there, I can go there, queen h7. Even if I go e6, I think this should be completely winning, because then I'm threatening to go queen g7 and you can't defend the mate. If you go something like that, I can go then queen g7. If you go e7, if I do e6 check, to be truthful, this is what I calculated first, actually, e6 and then bishop g5. So I was most likely gonna go for this, but game is over here. White is crushing. There's no way black can survive. I can just play queen g7 and keep pushing this pawn to a queen. So I'm actually not sure. This is very uncharacteristic of me. I always say myself that when you have a big advantage, do not hurry. There are 4 golden rules of technique. One is do not allow any counterplay. Number 2 is do not hurry. Do not hurry is not only do not play fast like on the clock, but until your position has been strengthened to a maximum, to a max, right? You do not want to go for a committal decisions, and that's exactly what I did here. I go for the very committal decision, which is giving up a rook without double, triple, quadruple checking my calculation. I tell this to my students: make sure you check it 5 times before you commit to something as committal as sacrificing your material, especially if you're already in a winning position. And I myself end up doing the same thing. So I very quickly, I probably spend maybe 2 minutes on this move, not even. I take on g7, and my opponent's face changes. He runs to the restroom, washes his face, and comes back with still water on his face, and from being very sad to suddenly, basically, he woke up, full of life. So I realized that reaction obviously made me realize that I messed something up here. So the point is, after king g7 check and rook g1, king g7 capture and rook g1 check, this king can go to h8, which I completely overlooked. I did not see that king was gonna go to h8 at all. So now I'm thinking that if I go bishop g6 here, this knight can go to g8. Now I can do probably bishop back to h5 or takes on f5, and I saw that this would lead to a draw because he goes to knight e7 back, right, to stop my e6 threat, and queen e5, rook g6, also rook g8, so knight back to e7. Then I go e6 threatening here check. You can't take with the rook because there's a checkmate on h6. You have to take with the knight, and then I go rook g6 and rook h6, rook g6, basically queen h6, and I'll have a perpetual. So I saw here that bishop g6 would lead to a draw. However, being or let's put it this way, having position that I was winning the entire game, and I'm playing 200 ratings lower than me, and I'm already thinking that okay, game is over, I'm gonna win this game, and suddenly tables has turned, and especially my opponent having zero counterplay for the entire game. Now I started tilting. I could not control my emotions properly, and instead of taking a draw here, what do? I sacrifice another rook. So rook goes to g6, knight takes g6, I take now on h6 with the hope of some counterplay here. Then queen goes back to d7, and now I go queen to g7. This was actually quite interesting, or I thought so at least, that even here after bishop g5, the game ends up in a draw because I go queen h5, then I have this threat of bishop h6, and what do? Queen e7, bishop g5, and we'll most likely repeat the moves. If you go to c7, you can try to go bishop f6 or bishop back to h6, and then queen g5. So computer says this is also 0-0, so black doesn't have much better but to repeat, right? But again, I keep playing for the win here, go h5, hoping that my opponent is not gonna be able to defend properly. But man, this is a pure desperation. Black has already 2 rooks up almost. 2 rooks for a bishop, and how many pawns is that? 2 pawns or 1 pawn? So all black needs to do here is basically defend everything, and that's kind of what happens. Gives me a bunch of material back. Well, 1 rook, and he still remains 1 rook up, and brings the knight back into the defense. And actually, last part of the game, my opponent was able to execute very nicely here. Does not give me any chance of counterplay, and takes with knight f6 especially, takes the game into a very basically simplifies the position a lot, and I just ran out of gas. I don't have pieces left. So in a matter of few moves here, game was over. I think I took bishop f5, he goes knight h5, and it's just over. Bishop's hanging, queen g3, and the black just wins. So I think not as much of a chess lesson here, but a very important lesson to be reminded and kind of be humbled in after 2 decades plus of experience, basically playing competitively. Still, it's crazy to think that sometimes we make mistakes that are very out of the character, and we can't really explain why it happens. But I remember actually Anand was saying this, Vishy Anand, the legend, that the most important quality of a chess player is being able to play from the current position, forgetting what happened on the previous move, because everyone makes mistakes, even best of very best, Magnus, Vishy, and these top guys, Hikaru, they all blunder. But being able to forget the evaluation of the previous move and play from the current position definitely takes a champion. All right, and I was not able to handle that well in this game, and it kind of ruined my entire tournament. Because now, having lost the game before this, now I lost the 2nd game in a row. Now, instead of just being sad, now I'm really tilted, and I guess that is also a good takeaway that I like to tell my students. Remember that if your tournament is going bad, it can still be worse. Okay, so we still, in order to reduce the damages, have to pick ourselves up and continue playing our best, or try to do our best. So that's what happened. Basically, the tragic, not end yet, but tragic end to my hopes that I was gonna perform well and gain some rating. So that was the round 5. Now I will show one more game because I just think that this game was fascinating. One of the most fascinating games that I've played recently. And this was the round 7 game against a quite formidable opponent, international master, that I'll jump in a second here. All right, let's do that. So in this game, I am playing Tamas Petenyi from Slovakia, who is my age actually. So we have seen each other. We never played actually. This was the first time us playing against each other, but we've seen each other a lot at the World Youth and European Youth tournaments. So I've seen and I've known a player. He's been 2450 for a long time, so we've been right around the same, basically same strength, and he's also an international master. All right, so after having actually not so great tournament, playing a strong opponent with black here who has tanked the rating, he's probably at his floor, was not happy. So I was ready to get into it, basically. All right, play for the win, no matter what. So he plays e4, e5. Little bit of a context to give you. Right before the game, actually 5 minutes probably, I had to look into my opponent's games, and I saw that he plays queen e2 line. All right, this is a unusual sideline that I think Sergei Tivyakov has played actually against me, so I've had some knowledge, but this has been a very long time since I looked into the line properly, so I didn't quite remember. I looked just again 2 minutes maybe before the game here what to do, and I see that most natural way of developing here is to play b5 to kick the kick the bishop away. Basically, with the queen e2, the threat is to take on c6 and then take on e5, right, with the knight. So I need to defend my e5 pawn. So I do b5 first, bishop moves away, and then I play bishop c5 to develop my bishop on an active diagonal before I play d6. He goes c3, then I play d6, and now white plays d3. Now I go h6 before I decide to castle, right? If I castle, white is not gonna castle. They're gonna play bishop g5 and then try to play h3, g4, and then attack me on the king side, right? So I play h6 first, wait for white to castle. Now white plays h3, and I saw actually that my opponent had the game in this position, so I kind of expected this position to occur on the board. So I'm thinking, all right, what to do here? Right, and my files say that I can go either queen e7 and bishop e6, or I can even go a5 immediately with the idea of a4, trying to kick this bishop away from a very important diagonal, after which white's attack will not be powerful on the king side if I manage to kick this bishop away. So normally I would probably go for one of these type of moves, and the position is right around equal here. However, and again, game is about to start, and I saw that computer says that short castle may be possible here for black, and the point is to invite white to play this g4, because white just played h3, making it very clear, if you're gonna castle, I'm gonna play g4, right? So computer evaluates this as slightly better for black, and I'm curious, right, why is that? And then it shows that the best move is a5, and then if white plays g5, black goes a4. All right, attacking that bishop. And here, computer evaluating this as slightly better for black, I assume that after gf here, this is not good, and I thought, oh, this looks fun. Takes there, and then I'll take on a2, and you lose the rook. So The minute that I had, or not even, to look into this position, and this is crazy to me even now, guess the move that I looked at? Not taking on f6 and then promoting queen on a move 10 for white, but I looked at move, what happens if bishop moves back? And then computer says that either take on g5 and go b4, or play knight h5 and sacrifice the pawn there, play g6, and black pieces are better, because where is white king going to find the safe shelter? Very hard to do so, right? And you can't play knight d2, there's always knight f4. So white will have problem of getting their pieces out, kind of, right? So I thought, oh, this looks fun. And considering the context here, my state of mind, and this being the second round of the day, I'm thinking, all right, let's go for it. So we get onto, and this is one of those lines also which, when you're preparing and you have little time, you're thinking that, oh man, this is never gonna happen, never actually gonna happen at the board, because that's kind of probably 95% of the time that would be true. But I go to the board and my opponent just, and quite fast too, goes for an immediate G4. I go A5, he goes G5. I go A4, he spends a little bit of time, takes on F6. And I'm like, oh man, why did I not take an extra 5 seconds to look at the evaluation properly? All right, you could have been a little late to the game, but if you had known the proper evaluation and the proper way to play here, that would be so good. Now I take on b3, he takes on g7, and now I'm thinking what to do. So this is the critical position in the game for sure here. Let's think. And giving the context, you know that computer's objective evaluation is that it's probably 0.2, 0.3 for black. What would be your move? And I think this is actually a very good calculation exercise. I would encourage you to stop the video and take your time, understand what is happening here and what would be the best continuation for black. And what do you think is the evaluation, objective evaluation, human evaluation? Now, that being said, let's start calculating variations and understand what is going on, right? So taking on g7 clearly has never been my intention, because I think it's very obvious that even if he plays a3 here, first plays rook g1, moves king away, even if he plays a3, I'm in trouble. Vera says here, that's not the case, but well, I saw bishop h6, knight g5, and I didn't need to see more. When I'm going for, when I'm hoping that black is slightly better here, this is definitely not what I want to see, right? Exposing my king like that. So king g7, I neglected quite fast, I would say. And it was between rook a2 or rook e8. Which one is the correct continuation? Now, if I do go rook e8 here, I thought white has to play a3, and I have two moves. One is that the h6 pawn is hanging, so I have to defend that pawn somehow. I was thinking queen f6 or rook to e6. Now, if I do play rook e6, I thought white has this move knight bd2, and this is where I stopped calculating, because obviously I don't want to play knight a5. I thought I'm gonna lose another pawn on b3, and I'm down 2 pawns, and what am I doing, right? And this is kind of where I think I did not think deep enough. My calculation and the evaluation of the position was not deep enough. I stopped here. Computer says that black actually has a very good compensation here. After something like b4, knight takes b3, b takes c3, and then moving the bishop away, putting the rook on g6 to secure the g file, and now black pieces are better. There's a similar thing what I mentioned earlier on. Where is white king finding the safe shelter? It is going to be very difficult. And also, how is white gonna take advantage of those extra pawns here? For example, the a pawn. What are they gonna do with it? Like a4, I'll place bishop on a6, d5, and I think black is rolling. Black is having a lot of fun here, considering that I think all black pieces are probably better than their opponent's counterparts, and especially the light square bishop. Light square bishop will be dominating here, having a lot of targets, specifically this diagonal. So rook e8. Rook e8 was the way to go here, but I was too tempted to go for this rook a2, which you probably see the appeal why that is very appealing for black. But I do want to mention here queen f6 is also slightly better actually for black. Takes their bishop b6, bishop a6 on the next move, probably rook d8, d5 ideas. Black has a very fun position, I would say, and white will how will white ever use this pawn? I don't think they will be able to. So instead of playing rook e8, which apparently is the computer suggestion, and that's why it was saying that black is slightly better here, I go for rook a2. I go for the glory. G takes f, now king takes f8, and here comes my biggest inaccuracy, I would say, in the game. And biggest inaccuracy was in my calculation. And this was, in my calculation, I was 100% sure here that white was gonna play bishop takes h6. For some reason, I thought that this check was pretty much forced. And this check on h6 is not forced. And we'll see white has a very smart defensive idea that kind of ruins all the fun for black. I thought that bishop h6 was forced, and my thinking is, okay, I'm gonna go king e8, and if he goes rook g1, I have this very nice trick prepared, taking on a1, and if he takes my queen, I sacrifice the queen, but I'll take on b1, and then I get that queen back, because you have to play either queen d1, give me queen back with a check, or play king d2, and then I'll play rook b2, taking that queen anyways. All right, so I'm getting very excited here. If I take there, then b2, and then promoting to a new queen. So I'm getting very excited about these lines. So, and this is the moment when I'm taking rook a2 here, right? So after gf, king takes f8. Now, I was thinking queen f8 as well, but there's rook g1 check. And if I go there, there is knight g5. This is the line I was concerned about, but that was apparently not the reason of concern here. But we'll see here. White has the same response here as in the game. Okay, I take with the king, and instead of capturing the bishop on pawn on h6, my opponent plays this very cold-blooded defensive knight to d2. Right, leaves that rook on a1 hanging, and after I take back, knight takes b3, attacking my rook and protecting the bishop on c1. So this came as a cold shower, kind of not expecting, and not only that, not expected, but thinking that you are the one attacking, and suddenly you realize, oops, now everything is defended. What do I do next? If I move back, then h6 is hanging. I'm gonna lose the bishop on c5, well, dark square bishop, and white is pawn up. Apparently, computer says that this was still the best way to continue. I was thinking rook back, but computer says just stay on a2 there, and then move the king away and play this position with the pawn down. And actually, position is not easy by any means, because again, your king is also not so safe. I'll go bishop e6. My king actually will probably be safer in the center or going on the queen side here. Your h3 pawn is loose, so I think this would still leave me with a very reasonable position here. However, already like being on this this go of basically go and attack. I didn't want to back down, so I decided to sacrifice an exchange here and play queen f6, hoping that my bishop pair here will come in handy, and hopefully I can also maneuver my knight to f4. a very comfortable outpost, right? My opponent finds this knight d2 move, which is actually a very nice move, to bring the queen to f3 and then rook g1 and not allow me to get active. I play knight e7 anyways, queen f3, I move queen to e6, and this is a moment where I think my opponent gave me the chance, but again, being low on time, I did not, or I was not able to utilize the chance. So rather than playing slowly here, improving his position, and then going for the punch basically, or a queen trade, let's say, he decides to go for a checkmate immediately, knight e2, which is not the best move here. I go queen a2, and now white queenside is left unprotected, kinda. He goes knight g3, I take on b2, and now knight goes to h5, all right? And this is where I got my chance by having maybe 4 minutes, 3 minutes on the clock. I played fast, a defensive move, which I thought was the natural defensive move, bishop e6. All right. Now even here, this is still not lost, but knight h5. If I had taken a little bit of time here, I think I would have found, and you should take a little bit of a time here. I would have found that black has this nice tactical idea: bishop takes f2. And point being that now if you take with the queen, that queen is not protecting the rook anymore. So I'll go queen c1, and then I'll take the rook back. So you don't have any attack there. Black is 2 pawns up, and if you go there, that just simply back queen g6, and everything is covered on my king side. So you can take with a king, you can take with a queen. If you play king e2, which I think is what would most likely happen in the game, you can just go bishop h4, cover the f6 square, and then threaten bishop g5, and black is winning. This is like +3 for black. So most likely king has to take on f2, and then I can just take on d2, and now white's in trouble. If you take there, queen c3, and I have 3 pawns for an exchange. I would be more than happy to go for something like this. Like this computer says that white is able to here get 1 pawn back, but here I would be more than excited to play with basically exchanging 2 pawns, so minor piece and 2 pawns versus the rook in this position. Right, I was ready to play one minor piece and 1 pawn. Even earlier on, I was ready to do just like equal exchange versus a minor piece, right? So with the 2 pawns up, any day against anyone. I mean, this particular position I'm talking about. So bishop f2 was my chance, but having 3 minutes on the clock, I did not find the move. I played the most natural bishop e6, then my opponent goes queen f6, and now again I didn't find the most precise move, which is knight c6. Okay, moving the knight away to defend the d8 square, and on knight g7, which is the reason actually I was not sure what to do here, because now he's hitting this guy. Maybe actually I can go here and take, no, because now if I do this, then takes here and then takes here as well, or he can take here, queen c7, knight b5. No, the house falls apart here. So I need to move this bishop away. I didn't see this move, bishop moving to d7, and I think when he takes there, I can still move, and it's only I think the best white can get here is a perpetual. If they don't get perpetual, actually go something like that, queen c3. I think game is still very unclear here, something like that, queen takes d3, and I don't know who does this position favor too. Most likely it's gonna end up in a perpetual. So I just run away with the king, but that is not fast enough. He has knight f6 check, and then I have to go king to c6, queen a8 check, and after I go to b6, he can play king e2, bringing the rook into the fight here. Actually, what if I go queen a3? What if I play queen a3? He has knight c4 check, and then rook b1. Yeah, so that would not save me. I played queen c3. He now brings rook a1, and brings this rook into the attack, and I'm doomed. I'm getting mated on a6. I played bishop d4, trying to run away with king c5, king b4, but He just goes rook a7, the last precise move, not letting me escape, and game over. Pretty much, if I play c6, takes the rook takes c6, I'm down the rook, and my pawns are not going anywhere. So this was the third game that I lost in a tournament. It is quite rare that I lose 3 games in a tournament, but more than everything, I think this is the reminder that nerves are the most important factor. Okay, if your nerves are not in place, not in good place, you will not play good chess. All right, let's put it that way. I think it started on around well, it started around 4 because I lost the game there that against a strong player that I thought I had chances, and then the next round it affected my next round performance, but for sure the decisive factor was round 5, where I, in a completely winning position, I sacrificed 2 rooks and lost the game. Basically, I really tried hard to lose that game, kind of, and that tilted me throughout the rest of the tournament. Then I did win 2 games, I think, in between against 2200 opposition. But I'm not gonna review those games because I think this was the key takeaways from the tournament, and I did want to show this last loss because I thought, how many times have you seen White promoting to a new queen in Rui Lopez at move 13? I don't think I've seen that many. And actually, everyone at the playing hall there were stopping by our board to understand, like, what is happening. How did this happen this early? So yeah, fun game, but unfortunately, it didn't go in our favor. So I'm gonna end here. This was a kind of tragic outcome of mine at US Masters. I lost 15 rating points, after which my FIDE rating is the lowest in a couple of years, 2440. Right, very humbling, but no much to do here. We have to pick ourselves up and get back stronger. All right, I hope this was helpful. Some of this game analysis you found instructive. I myself enjoy watching others analyzing games and explaining their thought process. So I hope you did too. You enjoyed this, and if you did, please do let me know. I would greatly appreciate that, and it would help the channel. It would help me to spread the word and just show love with the engagement, whatever form that may be. All right, guys. I will see you in the next one. Cheers.